Hello, welcome back to my YouTube channel, or welcome if you are a brand new viewer. My name is Diamond, aka Lady Leo. Really quickly, if you don't mind hitting the subscribe button, it really helps me out and it doesn't cost you anything. All right, getting into our video, continuing with our movie musicals, I decided to watch Cinderella, and I'm specifically talking about the one from 2021 with Camila Cabello. I remember when this came out. It's on Amazon Prime, by the way. I just didn't want to see it, so I didn't watch it. But in the spirit of the movie musicals that I'm doing, here we are. I watched it, and we're going to go through a play-by-play. Let's talk about Cinderella. All right, so this is a musical that starts with like one of those. So it's a combination of being like an ensemble musical number as the opening act, and then we're getting our voiceover from the fabulous Billy Porter. Oh, I love him. From the fabulous Billy Porter. I would have loved to see Kinky Boots on Broadway. All right, moving along. We get into our musical number, which is set to Rhythm Nation, which is my favorite Janet Jackson album. And we're off to the races. So we meet our girl Cinderella, which she goes by Ella in the movie. We have her evil stepmother, Vivian, played by Idina Menzel, who is fabulous in everything. And then we've got her two stepsisters, Nerissa and Melova. Melova. I wrote down, is that supposed to be an O? I can't read my own handwriting. I think it's Melova with an O. Molova. Now, I think the fact that this movie is deciding to use like Janet Jackson's Rhythm Nation is setting the tone for you, right? Like this is a modern day Cinderella. We're not making too many of our own songs in this movie. We're using other people's works and repurposing them. Sometimes it works in this movie, sometimes it doesn't, but like I'm getting ahead of myself. So we have our heroine Ella. She lives in the basement. To be honest with you, we're supposed to feel sorry for Ella, right? Because Cinderella is usually abused by her stepmother and her stepsisters. My girl has a floor to herself. Like when we see her, she's in a basement, but the basement is not barren. She's got fabric, she's got tables, she's got supplies, a bed. I mean, it's in the attic, but it's a well-designed room in the attic. You know what I mean? It's got me questioning, is your stepmother evil? She gave you this whole floor. She gave you a bed. You got like 2-3 chests of drawers. You got a table. You have a sewing machine. I'm just saying you have a lot of supplies for someone who's destitute. I'm I'm sorry. It's just, it seems like a pretty nice setup if you think about it. It's very spacious. You don't have to worry about them. You just have to do chores sometimes. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. It's just, it looks pretty nice to me. Okay. So one thing I'm just kind of gonna mention, and I just don't know why this is, but I'm just gonna put it out there. I don't really love Camila Cabello's voice. I don't know why. Like sometimes I do really like the song that she sings and other times I don't. So it's kind of this thing for me where like sometimes I enjoy the song she's singing, sometimes I don't. I don't know. Her voice is just one of those things where it is a very unique sort of tone to it, but it doesn't always suit me. Again, that's nothing against Camila Cabello herself. I'm just being honest with you. So she's Ella is a fashion designer and she's singing around her room. I'm pretty sure she switches to a different song. Yeah. So like the ensemble cast is singing Rhythm Nation. And then she goes to singing one of my favorite songs from the 90s. She's singing a different song. And then I forgot about the mice. The mice only exist in this version, in the 1950s version. They don't exist in the Roger and Hammerstein. Well, sorry, that's not true. They do not sing in the Robert talk. So we have the mice. The mice are creepy because they talk and they're just very CGI. And I'm not going to spend too much time on them because I don't like them. Anyway, moving along. First thing I want to say too is like making Idina Menzel as the evil stepmother. I could see her as being like the Wicked Witch of the West or something, you know what I mean? Because she has such a gravitas and a presence to her in general, on top of her being just like a fantastic singer. But like she works as the evil stepmom, you know what I mean? Like, because to me, she's not purely evil. They have humanized her a lot, which makes her a lot more relatable. Sorry, relatable is not the word. It makes her, there's a lot more depth to her, as opposed to her just being like purely evil for no reason. So anyway, yeah, Idina Menzel does a great job as the evil stepmother. Evil, I don't know if evil, the not nice stepmother. I think the decision to make Ella a fashion designer is really an interesting choice. It does give her something else to do, but at the same time, I don't know, she's not struggling for materials, or I guess maybe that's not the right thing. I would be interested to know, like, how does she get all of these materials? Like, there's a lot of stuff going on in her basement. Where's she getting the money to buy the materials? Because the movie sort of explains that she's never actually sold a dress, but she has all these designs. And again, she's got a full sewing studio going on. So like, where'd she get the money to purchase all this stuff? I don't know. All right. So then Ella goes into her signature song of the movie. I'm pretty sure this is the only like original song in the movie. I think so, which is A Million to One. I do really like that song. It's a really nice song. And there's a couple reprises of it throughout the movie. But yeah, this is the only original song they use. I would be interested to know if it is cheaper to go the route of paying for other people's song and just like rearranging them, or making your own. I imagine like making your own songs is a lot more complicated to create songs from scratch. But yeah, that's the route they go. They don't really use too much original music. Like I said, I don't think there's any other original songs in the movie outside of this one. Could be. I didn't look them all up. Some of them I know offhand, but yeah. Anyway, so we have A Million to One. It's a nice song, and then we move our plot along. Now it's time to meet the prince, who's played by Nicholas Galzine. It looks like Galzine. He's marketed as being like a very young bachelor. He's got that earring in his ear, so he's sort of like edgy. And he doesn't want to get married. I don't really know how old he's supposed to be, but essentially he is I don't know, I'm pretty sure he's the oldest. So his mother and father have, which is played by Pierce Brosnan and Mimi Driver, who's tragically wasted in this movie, to be honest with you. But anyway, that's the king and the queen. They have a daughter and a son. And so the son, Prince Robert, that's our prince. He doesn't want to get married. He's a bachelor. He just wants to have fun with his friends or whatever all the time. Sorry, in the middle of this, him wanting to have fun, we go to like the town crier who is like rap singing. I think now is a good time to mention how much it seems like the movie is trying to like go down a checklist of checking all the boxes. Rap style singing like Hamilton, check. Using modern songs and reimagining them, check. Having lots of diversity, check. Having people who are LGBTQ plus, check. Having comedy style characters, check. You know what I mean? Like, as the movie goes on, it feels like it's trying to do all of those things. And the problem when you're trying to do everything is that it kind of comes off as being kind of disingenuous. Like, right? You're not really focusing on telling a good story. You just don't want to offend anybody by not including something. So you just like, okay, well, all these things need to be in the movie. And you're like, yep, we checked it off. We're good. And that's kind of what I get the vibe of in the movie. So it's just an observation. To Prince Robert, he is scolded by his father because he had a marriage proposal from like a neighboring kingdom, and he didn't want to marry for status. And he's like, no, I want to marry for love, or whatever he says. So essentially the father's like, no, you got to get married. And then we have the sister who, this is no shade to the actress. I feel like she could not be there and she wouldn't change anything. She's there to check the box of the underrated, overlooked sister in a patriarchal society who keeps piping in these ideas that don't have any bearing on the plot. She's like, we're spending too much money on catapults. Is this a good time to talk about that? No, it's not. You know what I mean? Like, that's what she's there for. And outside of that, she just doesn't have a personality outside of just being underrated and overlooked. And I just feel sad for her because I'm just like, they don't care. Your parents are like, no, it's not a good time. And they just roll their eyes at her. But she's there for that. So essentially, they go into a song where, because the king was like, okay, well, you're going to have a ball. Sorry, I'm trying to remember. Did Robert suggest the ball or did the king? I think Robert suggested the ball. But was this before or after he met Ella? I think it was before he met Ella. Okay, yes. I'm sorry. I have my notes, but I'm still trying to read without looking down at them. Hang on. All right, so essentially Robert goes into that song, Somebody to Love, as they announce to the kingdom they're having a royal ball or whatever. And essentially they have a lot of subjects all in one place. Ella climbs up on the statue and the king's like, get down. He's like, you should put some bleachers in the back. So this is something that it's really interesting because I feel like there's two different ways that Camila Cabella is playing Ella. It's probably how she's instructed, where when she's not around the king or his family or the prince, she comes off as being just kind of natural, but then like they play up the quirkiness and the awkwardness. They dial it up to like 11 anytime she is around him, and it just comes off as being fake. You know what I mean? It's almost like she's vacillating between two very different modes. Like, as opposed to being like awkward and quirky all the time, she just comes across as being very natural when she's not around them, and then when she is around them, it's like, gotta turn that dial up. It's very off-putting to a certain extent, because I'm just like, whoa, where did Ella get this confidence to like climb up on the statue and like talk back to the king? And talk back to the king. But this is what makes Robert notice her, and he's immediately smitten with her because he's like, she's not like those other girls. She's an edgy girl. She's a quirky girl, or whatever the trope is. But yeah, he's immediately taken with her. And I'm laughing because I don't really understand the purpose of this. So essentially, Robert's already set in motion that there's going to be a ball, but he gets it in his mind that he's going to go out into the kingdom to seek out this woman so he can convince her to go to the ball. First off, he doesn't know that she's not going to the ball. So I don't really understand this at all. But he gets a disguise. This is kind of hilarious though, because he just puts on like a headband, but his face is still visible. But of course, nobody recognizes him. It kind of reminds me of like Sailor Moon. And then outside of Tuxedo Mask, who has just like the mask over his face, nobody has anything covering their face, but like nobody recognizes that Serena, even though she has the exact same hairstyle. But anyway, he's like, I'm going out to the town. I got to meet this girl so I can convince her to go to the ball. Like I said, to me, it just literally doesn't make any sense, but okay. Before that, I just want to mention that we have Idina Menzel singing Material Girl. Nothing else. Moving along. So I forgot to mention this earlier, but here I'm going to mention it now. So when they were going out to the town for this town announcement, Ella was going to bring one of her dresses to sell there because that's the right place to try and sell it. But the stepmother's like, you better not bring that and embarrass me. So she left it there. So now Ella takes her dress while Idina Menzel is singing Material Girl. She scurries off to the market to sell the dress on the market. Nobody wants to buy it. Also, I'm super curious because this market seems like it's for, the peasants, the regular people. But then she comes across like a noblewoman walking the market, and the noblewoman's like, where did you steal that from? She's like, oh no, I made this dress, ma'am. And she's like, well, I don't want this dress. And she's the only one that you come across. But I'm just like, would a noble person be out here in a peasant market buying a dress? What are you doing down here anyway? I'm just saying, they wouldn't really be, meddling with us peasants. They would be up there in their ivory towers staring down and having somebody make their dress from scratch. But anyway, nobody buys the dress but Prince Robert, who is not recognizable with his headband. He comes over to Ella, seeing her trying to sell the dress. And again, she's quirky and I don't know, whatever other tropes they're trying to go for. And they strike up a conversation where she insults the prince, aka him, saying that he's just useless. And he then decides to buy her dress for 3 times what she's asking, gives her some money, even though they never actually decide on how much that is. And then he's like, you should go to the ball. She's like, why would I go to the ball? I don't remember what he says to convince her, but she's like, okay, fine, I'll go to the ball. So she decides to go to the ball, but she did give up that dress. So I guess she's got to go make a new one. So she actually uses the money that he gave her to buy more fabric for a new dress. As Ella is whipping up this dress, I forgot that like as she was making the dress, I feel like Am I Wrong is the ensemble number they were singing to. Had a good time with the song, enjoyed it. Yeah, so the dress is whipped up. It's time for the ball. Everybody's dressed for the ball. Ella comes down in this pink number. It's fine. I don't hate it, but it's not like magical. But yeah, she comes down in this pink number. Idina Menzel's like, where are you going, Cinderella? She's like, oh, I'm going to the ball. She's like, you're not going to the ball. The ball is for unmarried people. She's like, well, yes, I'm not married. Well, I did marry you to this person. His name is Thomas. Sorry, I forgot to mention him, but he comes to the house to bring them vegetables. Anyway, and she's like, I gave Thomas your hand in marriage. She's like, I'm not marrying Thomas. Oh, yes, you are marrying Thomas. And since you are betrothed, you're not coming to the ball. She spills ink on her dress, which she just has at the ready. And then, like I said, Idina Menzel can be pretty terrifying as the evil stepmother. She grabs her by the ear and she's like, you better go downstairs, take this off, and you stay down there, or whatever she says. And she leaves, and Ella leaves, and they leave to go to the ball. I'm laughing because, like, I can't decide. I don't think Camila Cabello is the greatest actress. You know what I mean? She's like, why did you do that to my dress? But then, like, when Idina Menzel turned it up a notch, she was like, okay, I'm sorry. It's now time for the illustrious, the magnanimous Billy Porter. So, Ella found like a larvae, which ends up being a butterfly, which transforms into our fairy god person, which is Billy Porter. They sing Shining Star, which I like that song, but I would have rather had like a original song in here. You know what I mean? It's not, it's just not what I would want it. But anyway, this is the whole transformation number where he uses one of her own dresses and uses like a bunch of flowers, and it transforms into the dress. I quite liked the transformation. We have those 3 mice that they get transformed into real people. I'm not going to say anything else about them because they're very annoying. Anyway, so it's off to the ball in her glass slippers. And yeah, it's time to get to the ball. Now, something that I will say too about this movie is that, like, I think the choice of the songs that they decide to use, they're all a little too on the nose. You know what I mean? Like, before Ella gets to the ball, there's this whole number of like What a Man from Salt and Pepper, and it's like all the song choices are like that. They're like so on the nose. There's just I just can't decide how I feel about it, because sometimes I don't mind it because I feel like the song and the way that it's composed is good, but other times like this one I'm just like, can't we just have a dance number? Like my favorite version of Cinderella, which is the Brandy and Paulo Montalban version, that one has like this big dance number when she gets to the ball. So there's no singing involved. There's just this huge dance number, and then spotlight comes on her and she comes down. We don't really have one of those moments with Ella. She just appears at the ball. And I forgot that like our fairy god person did something so that people don't recognize her. So she's not recognizable. Ella goes up to another queen, I don't know, of a neighboring country, and she doesn't seem to be able to speak. So this is what I mean about dialing up the awkwardness on her, because all of a sudden she can't really talk around this woman as she's trying to sell her dressmaking skills, something like that. I don't know. She gets an interview, a meeting, something to take place later on, and somehow, some way, Ella ends up on stage. It doesn't make sense because she's literally talking to this queen. She turns around and she somehow ends up on stage to bump into the drums to bring attention to herself. And Prince Robert recognizes her, even though nobody else does. But he's like, oh my gosh, it's you. You came. Your dress, it's lovely. And then they dance to Perfect by Ed Sheeran. You know what I mean? Like every single, I'm just like, God damn, can we just have like I don't know, pick a different song, like one that's not so direct, but you know, they dance and fall in love because we don't have that much time in this movie. Although to be honest, at this point, I think there was still an hour left in the movie. I was like, damn, what else? What else do we have what else is going on? Oh, sorry, I forgot to mention before they get into their love dance, his sister makes a dramatic reveal. She's been at the ball this whole time, but she's wearing like this cape and she's wearing Ella's dress. Let's not kid ourselves, okay? Not saying that your designs aren't good, Ella. I'm just saying the one that he bought from you is kind of basic. I don't know if royalty would be wearing it to a ball, but he gave it to her sister and it magically fits her. So there's that. So they have their love dance song and then they actually go off to have what I would say is actually a pretty genuine conversation where they're not like spotlight dancing about being perfectly in love. They're having a conversation at a piano where they actually start to delve into each other's lives. And essentially Prince Robert's like, I want to marry you. I love you. And she's like, okay, great, bet. However, you would have to give up your dressmaking. She's like, what? Why? Because, you know, a noble woman can't make dresses or whatever he said. And she's like, listen, I love you. Sorry, this is a pet peeve of mine, but people who are saying they love each other after like literally a few hours of knowing each other, days in their case, it just always makes me roll my eyes. But anyway, she's like, I'm not giving up my livelihood that she doesn't have yet for love. To be fair, I applaud her for not compromising what she wants in life just to be with him. Like she just doesn't want to give up that part of herself. And I like that aspect of her. So yeah, she's like, yep, I'm not giving that up. And he's like, okay. So the king demands that Robert has to get married by the end of the week, because he didn't find the love of his life at this ball. So he's got to pick somebody, by the end of the week. And then we cut to Ella and Vivian, evil stepmother. They have a really good conversation, which goes into a song, but I like the conversation where, you know, you can see like Vivian peeling the onion back a little bit and giving a little bit more about herself. She talks about really loving to play the piano, and she was married at the time and she got the chance to go to like a special school, and her husband was like, why do you need this? And it was just a really good conversation and explains like her vantage point, which is why like you have to diminish yourself to be with a man. Like you can't have too many other aspirations outside of being a wife and a mother. And it was just really interesting. And then we go into another song from Idina Menzel. Oh, sorry. Before she sings the song, she finds the other shoe. This is one of those faux pas of like Cinderella that we just choose to accept, that everything about her dress, including the shoes, are magic. However, and everything else reverts back to its normal, like whatever it was before, except her shoes. So her shoes remain those glass slippers, and the stepmom finds one of the glass slippers, and she's like, oh my God, you were that girl the other night. You have to go marry the prince. She's like, she's like, you have to marry the prince. And she's like, I'm not marrying the prince because I don't want to give up my ability to make clothes. She's like, well, then if you're not marrying him, you're marrying Thomas. She's like, well, I'm not marrying him either. She's like, listen, you're doing one of the two, and it's time for Idina Menzel to have another song. Dream Girl. Anything Idina sings in this musical is great because it's Idina friggin' Menzel, okay? So the king has a wife the king and the queen, they have a conversation. And this is the most we get out of Minnie Driver because, again, she's tragically wasted throughout the rest of this movie. And anyway, he ends up apologizing to Robert about not picking the girl he actually wants. And he apologizes to his daughter. He's like, you're going to run the country. And I'm just like... But you know realistically that it would never go down like this. Like, this is a patriarchal society. And the king likes to believe he has all the powers, but he can't make decisions without his advisors probably. But anyway, so they hand all the power off to the daughter, who, again, she doesn't have any other personality outside of just wanting change. So now she gets the power to make change immediately. And the movie ends with Ella and Robert being not engaged. Are they engaged? They're not engaged because they're not getting married. She doesn't want to put a label on it. They're going to travel the world with Queen Tatiana, Taina, whatever her name was, it started with a T. They're going to travel the world with her and make clothes. I mean, at least Ella's going to make clothes. I don't really know what he's going to do. And then they played Let's Get Loud. That's it. That's Cinderella 2021. All right, my overall thoughts about this movie is there's actually a couple arrangements of songs that I'm familiar with that I enjoy. I really like I really like the original song, a million to one. I like the idea of Ella having an aspiration outside of just wanting to be married. And I do kind of like the idea that her and Robert don't get married immediately. I wish there were more original songs in this movie. And I think the focus on really trying to check as many boxes as possible, it just comes off as being like a little disingenuous. And like, I can't even tell you whether or not I like Ella as a character because I think she just vacillates between being completely normal and just very awkward and just like all over the place. My favorite person is Idina Menzel for obvious reasons. And then my second favorite person is Billy Porter. I would have loved a song with the two of them, but it doesn't make any sense because their characters would never interact. But we could have had a song at the end, you know? So all in all, I mean, is this one of my favorite musical Cinderellas? No. In fact, it's probably third. I'm trying to think of the iterations of Cinderella. Do we count the 1950s as being a musical? Is that a musical? There's some music in it. I mean, my favorite is 100% the Roger and Hammerstein Cinderella from 1997-ish with Brandy and Paulo Montalban. Yeah. Yeah, I liked aspects of this, but yeah, it's not horrible. There's some enjoyable moments in there if you kind of like musicals. If you don't like musicals, maybe not. But yeah, that was Cinderella 2021. I don't really know what I'm going to check off my list in terms of watching next. We're getting to the holidays, so you know, I think I might watch Wonka. Yeah, so maybe I'll check out Wonka. But yeah, let me know in the comments below if you have seen this movie musical. Did you like it? Where does it rate in the scale of Cinderella movie musicals? Again, I'm not sure if we're counting the 1951s as being a musical. But anyway, let me know in the comments below. Like, comment, subscribe. That's my time. Bye!